Hello and welcome to Therate. I'm Ashley with my co-host Katie, and today we're breaking down Mirrorball from Taylor's album Folklore. And this song is requiring a little bit of extra context. So, Katie, I'm going to ask you one, why you chose the song, and then also, can you give us some context into kind of the timing of this song coming out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for our listeners who may not be aware, Taylor recorded herself performing the entire folklore album. It's on Disney Plus called The Long Pond Sessions. And in between her performance, she would share kind of her vision and her stories and why, like the meaning of each of the songs. It's really great. Definitely would recommend you check it out. But what I thought would be helpful for you today is to hear a little bit of what she shares in those like clips from the Long Pond sessions about this song. So I learned that it was written shortly after um all of her Loverfest concerts got canceled. So Lover came out in 2019. She was going to perform and go on tour in 2020. As we know, that was the pandemic. So basically, she's writing the song right after, like, the world is changing. There's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what it's going to mean to be an artist, to see live music, to like, especially in the early days, we had no idea what our futures were going to look like. And
Hello.
yeah. So she highlights this mental image that she had when she first heard like the melody track. And the mental image was kind of a sad, empty bar in the middle of like a one horse, nowhere small town. And there's like a disco ball, and there's like a few sad, lonely people at the bar drinking, and there's like one or two people like dancing under this like disco ball with these neon lights. And she was struck at how, the disco ball or the mirror ball reflects light for entertainment. But what makes it reflect light so well is the fact that it's broken. And she was thinking about how society has people like that too, who when they break, it's entertaining to us. And we might want them to break and reflect our sadness, our joy, our whatever, fill in the blank. Um, and so she highlights the celebrity experience, like people are entertained when we're broken, but she also talks about how, like, when she had this massive clear of her schedule where she had no need to be performing, no need to be working, she kept writing music and she kept reaching for this performance even when she didn't have one, even though there was no audience. And she even kind of says, like, I don't really know why. Like, I did that. I just kept doing it. And she talks about how, just that light reflects in different ways, and so do people. And so we might have a version of ourselves that, we show with our family that might be different than our friends or different sets of friends or at work or in an academic space or fill in the blank. And she kind of weaves in threads of this is me trying into her lyrics when she says, I've never been a natural. All I do is try, try, try. And she's highlighting this very vulnerable aspect of herself, like even questioning if she should put that lyric in the song because it's a lyric about desire, right? Like I want to try and this doesn't come naturally to me, but I really want it. And I think that's maybe one of the most vulnerable experiences that we can have to acknowledge to ourselves and to others is how much we really want something and how hard it is for us to do that thing or achieve that thing. So that's a little bit of context to the song Mirrorball. I hope you found that helpful. And we can kind of dive in. But Ashley, do you have any thoughts in response to any of that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting to talk about this song after the Life of a Showgirl came out because I feel like that idea of a mirror ball or a disco ball is kind of like coming from the disco ball's perspective, right? Like she's talking about this song, kind of explaining that concept, but then that album, Life of a Showgirl, I think is from the perspective of this is what it's like to be a showgirl. And I think she talks about this in a lot of different contexts, but for Taylor specifically, she does write from very vulnerable places. And so, like the shattered edges glisten for her, that's how she's become famous. And like her bread and butter is like, I go through pain, I write about it, and that's how I came to be Taylor Swift. And so it's just a really cool idea that she can like picture something so specific and bring it back to her personal experience.
Yes. I think that it's really insightful to highlight the showgirl and its connection, like looking back, right? Like, yeah, to what that season of her life was like and what that would mean as an artist kind of going through the pandemic, which is something that Jack Antonoff, who's interviewing her kind of in the Long Pond sessions, highlights that like we didn't know what it was going to look like to be an artist in the pandemic. Like, how do you create art when you can't perform it, right? Or when performance has to look so different. So yeah, it really is kind of like a behind the scenes look that ties in really well with Showgirl because that's all the whole album is about.
Yeah, yeah, super interesting. Let's move into any questions that you would like to ask.
Yes. I will highlight the lyric that I'm describing when I like answer the question, so our listeners will get that. I just
That
didn't
sounds
have
good.
that at the top like I usually do. I missed that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so actually, can I share what made me pick this song?
Absolutely. Katie, what made you pick this song?
I would love to tell you. Thanks for asking. So there's a lyric in the song that goes, I can change everything about me to fit in. And I really love that lyric. I moved a lot growing up, and that resonated with me because I was kind of this new kid on the block a lot in my growing up years. And I had to become very skillful at reading an environment and adapting. And so this idea that like I can figure out how to fit in this context was something that like really resonated with me when I like heard the song. And I really love and appreciate the song because it's so observational. Like some of Taylor's music, as we know, has a bite to it. Like she's angry, she's sad, she's accusing somebody, she's, high highs, low lows. But in this song, she's really just observing. Like she's commenting on performance, and consumption of that performance, two very different perspectives on art or a situation, but she's not really critiquing either position. Like, and in fact, she's even admitting that she doesn't understand her motivation for participating. And she says, like in the song, I'm spinning in my highest heels love. And I think that's like the way that she says love is like a term of endearment. And I was like, that's so disarming. That's so sweet. Like, she's just talking about the process of like being a Mirrorball who like gets broken and then like that's entertaining, but then also the fact that like she wants to entertain and people want to consume that and that comes with like sharp edges, but it's part of the process. And I just found that really like interesting the way that the song doesn't have any bite to it. It's just here's my reflections.
Hmm. Yeah. Reflections in multiple ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Well,
cool.
the questions I would ask, going back to your question earlier.
I've been dying to hear.
Um, you say, I've never been a natural. All I do is try, try, try. And my question is, what are you trying to do or to be? And what comes naturally to you?
Oh, what does come naturally?
Yeah, because she's
Hmm.
saying, like, I've never been a natural, but I'm like, but there are some things that like we have natural inclinations for. So what would that be?
I love
And
that.
um, what would it be like to get to know the versions of yourself that you reflect for others? Because she talks about, and I will pull up the lyric. um, I'm still trying everything to get you laughing at me. Um, and I think that, who are those personas, right? Those different roles that you play, what's their function, what's their motivation? Like, how does that play out in your life? Because you're talking about different parts of yourself being reflected in different spaces. And that's completely natural, right? I think everybody, like we talked about, it's has a version of themselves that will show up in one context and it'll look different in another. But as the person singing or like the song, I would be curious, like, what if you got to know those roles? Like, what if you interviewed them? Maybe you could ask yourself if these roles still fit you, and if you'd like to shed some of them, if you need them, if you want them. Like, what if we introduce autonomy into this
Hmm.
rather than just meeting these expectations, really reflecting on whether or not these expectations are even something that you want, that are authentic to you? Again, back to that question, what comes natural to you? And
Yeah.
why do you say that you're not a natural?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that brings up a really good point that sometimes people will even, function in a way that pleases other people so much or like attempts to please other people so much that they don't even know those authentic questions about themselves. And that can sometimes build resentment because you're functioning in a family system or a societal system in which it doesn't feel like there's room for your authentic self. So you are doing a lot of external effort. So I really like that you're highlighting the authenticity aspect here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, so that's kind of all I had for like the questions piece.
Okay. Yeah. Anything you would validate here?
I would validate kind of what I just mentioned, but it's normal to have different parts of ourselves, and for these parts to come out in different settings. And like all things in life, there's room for a lot of nuance here because, there is a spectrum where this could be toxic, right? Like if you were a completely different person, if you're unrecognizable in one context than you are in another, that could obviously be an indication of something that's not positive that needs to be explored, right? That could be not a good thing. And at the same time, there's a space where that could be healthy, right? Where like we do have to like mask to an extent, right? There is a version of ourselves that we bring in certain spaces, and it's appropriate for us to bring that, but not translate it into another, right? So like how you might treat an acquaintance needs to look different than how you would treat an intimate relationship, or how you function at work we should function differently at home, right? Like, so there's an element to which that's appropriate, but again, that's like nuanced, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything you would challenge?
So she says in the song, I'm still trying everything to keep you looking at me. And I want to understand the function of that. Like, what do you want people to see? What does that do for you? A mirror ball reflects, yes, but like what's underneath the mirror ball, right?
Hmm.
Like what's happening inside when you're not just reflecting? Like what's happening in the mirror ball when the light isn't on it, right? And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want to challenge of like, wow, you were, you know, I'm on my tallest tiptoes, spinning on my highest heels, shining just for you. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of performance. What's happening beneath the surface for you? That's what I want to challenge you to look at.
Hmm.
Not just your experience of other people watching you, but your experience of yourself. You sound like you're about to say something. I would love to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts, Ashley.
No, this is all so good, Katie. Another thing that I thought of as you were talking is what was the mirror ball before it was shattered? And what are
Oh,
all of these like
like
people,
that.
not people, pieces connected to, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Hmm.
were you always a Mirrorball? What did you become? What was that process? Did you break something yourself, or was it all external? Did other people break it for you?
And are there any pieces still whole or is it
Mm-hmm.
completely shattered?
Yes. Yes.
We could keep going.
Good. But
Our
that's
job is asking questions.
that was like a really good like mic drop question of like how did the disco ball come to be, and were you always a disco ball? Like, yeah.
Listening to that sentence out of context would be so funny.
What are we talking about and why?
Yeah. Well, no, those are great insights. Anything else that you would challenge?
No, those are my main challenges.
Okay, what would you recommend?
In the song, she uses some circus metaphors. She says, and they called off the circus, burned the disco down when they sent home the horses and the rodeo clowns. I'm still on that tightrope. And my recommendation would be, would you like to get off the tightrope?
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody else is going home, and I'm still on that tightrope. So like there's something that you're finding hard to separate even when like everything's been burned down, people have gone home, like there is no more audience and you're still in this role. So would you like to get off the tightrope? And what comes up for you when you think about that? You know, what is the tightrope? Like what is that requiring of you? Right? What would it be like if you weren't there? I would really want to explore with that person, like could we step down?
Yeah, and I'm imagining like the tension that you have to do within even just physically of like the balancing act, right? To do that and how sore your feet would be. And, like, and that's, she's talking about an emotional experience, but if we bring it to the physical, like how exhausting that would be to stay on a tightrope forever.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And the lyric after that is like, I'm still trying everything to get you laughing at me. Like, so I kind of like, again, like this entertainer, right? Like, you could hear that as like, oh, like laughing at somebody, or it could be like a comedian, an entertainer's job. It's their job to get you laughing, right? And so, like, there's such a high level of performance here that comes at a cost, and there's no audience. Like that's the imagery. Like the audience is gone. And like
Hmm.
you're still clinging to this. I would love for you to experience yourself outside of this setting if you're open to it.
Yeah, and that brings up another question of like, where is this pressure really coming from? If nobody's watching you do this, it's likely inward, right? Like it's likely coming from you for some reason. Where is that coming from?
And she doesn't know why. Like that's like the
Hmm.
next lyric. And I'm still a believer, but I don't know why.
Hmm.
And like that's what she talks about in the long pond sessions of like, I don't really like I was writing music and I was like still working and it was like, why am I doing this? Like, but there was no turn off switch, right? And so I think that it's very relatable for myself, for a lot of clients where we're just in these habits. We're just doing these things kind of on autopilot and we're not really evaluating our motivations behind them or even our experience of it, right? It might just be like, well, I have to, or if I don't, then this. So then I continue without evaluating whether or not I have agency or choice or whether or not I have influence in the situation.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's so good. Anything you would encourage this person with?
I would encourage you to get back in touch with yourself, particularly the parts that feel really authentic to who you are, right? You say you're not a natural, but again, there is something, even if it's like a personality quirk or tendency that does come natural to you. So let's evaluate what is natural to you. And like we've discussed thus far, we all mask, and that's not necessarily the problem at all. It's, when we don't recognize who's underneath the mask, or we can't distinguish ourselves from the mask or the roles that we play, that's when we get into trouble. So I want to really encourage that person to like revisit this authentic part of yourself that maybe got buried at some point.
Hmm. Yeah, I think buried is a really good word for that because it's still there, right? Like you can still find it. It's just going to take a little work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this song? It's such a good one.
Oh, those are my thoughts. I am very eager to hear your thoughts, Ashley, because you've already brought some really good insights so far. So, can we jump into your lyrics and what you'll be covering?
Yes. Yeah. Hmm. So, yeah. When I break, it's in a million pieces. Drunk as they watch my shattered edges glisten. Hush, I know they said the end is near, but I'm still on my tallest tiptoes. I've never been a natural. All I do is try, try, try. I almost chose that last lyric as the one that describes me But it it felt too vulnerable. Like it felt like I don't know if I want to explain this, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
leave that there.
I mean, Taylor agreed. This is what she said in the long sessions. Like, should I even say that? Like, is this too raw?
Seriously. But I mean, she just has such a beautiful way to put things into words. So, um, those are the lyrics I'm going to be addressing. Can I move into questions?
Yes. What questions would you ask?
Are there any relationships you're not the fixer in?
Ooh.
What is it like to have the role of distracting people from their pain while they view yours? I
Again,
feel
like
like
this to like, what's your experience? What's your experience? Like, quit watching other people. Like, what's your experience?
yeah, exactly kind of like what you were saying too. Like tell me about you. Like what
Mhm.
is it like for you when people are watching your pain?
Yeah.
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 Um the word hush, I know they said the end is near, but I'm still on my tallest tiptoes. Like it just has like this beautiful way of putting it. Like you don't look at that. Look at me
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, shh, let's not talk about the end. Like, no, 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 no.
So I just really needed to emphasize that lyric before we moved on too far. Like
I'm
that
like so glad you did. Like, I think, like, I kind of like missed that detail. That's like, hush, shh, talk about that. It's like when somebody's like raising their hand and somebody's like, shh, 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 shh.
Yeah.
No questions here. Like, it
Put the
feels
hand
like,
right down.
yeah, exactly. Like, ice back on me. Like, straightforward.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I just watched Finding Nemo.
Classic.
And just like by myself because I needed it. And I saw that scene where there's the teacher, the I think he's like a Ray, and he's got his little
Um,
song, and there's a point where he and oh my gosh, this is such a rabbit trail, but there's a point where the class is like seeing Marlin and Nemo have a fight, and the teacher
mhm.
goes, "There's nothing to see."
Yeah.
And like moves on. Anyway, that's what
Yes.
brought that to mind. Those were my only questions.
I love that. Taylor and Nemo. That what a great match. I'm sure she loves that movie. I just have a feeling.
How could you not?
Um, um, next question. What would she validate?
Um, I would validate that we're within roles in social systems for a reason, and your life experiences have shown you that this needs to be your role. So for whatever reason, you've kind of fit this role. Um, and it may or may not be like a conscious decision. It's something that like you might even feel like you need to do, and
Mhm.
that's just it can be an exhausting experience to be in that role.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like it's tiring. Like you're seeing the exhaustion, which maybe other people don't see because you're in performance level, but like you're noting the cost that it takes to do that. So
And
good.
there's a big cost to doing that.
Yeah, there's absolutely a toll. Anything else that you would validate?
I think that's the main thing.
Can you share your challenges for this client?
Um, Challenges again coming through with questions. What can people do on their own? Can they manage their own emotions? Can they manage their own problems? Um, and then can others feel appropriate pain or grief without you jumping in to entertain? I think there's something to be said for allowing people to feel their feelings instead of trying to distract them from it.
Mhm. Absolutely. But I will add to that, that requires that you tolerate that emotion in
Hmm.
yourself as you watch it or as you experience it with them, which is something. that like we often, again, it goes back to like your experience, right? If you can't tolerate watching this, then you're going to do something about that. And that's not to the other person's benefit. It's not even to your benefit, right? Like when you look at the motivation for that, it really comes down to like your own ability to sit in that. So, yeah, I love that. Like what's kind of going on there.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that you brought up tolerating. Like you have to be able to tolerate the other person's ability or intensity to which they're feeling.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I've had to learn as a therapist, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Because that's our whole job is to like be a container, to be an emotional space for another person, which means whatever they're having, I am not there to fix it. I'm there to be
Yeah.
a witness to it. And that can take a toll on a nervous system, let me tell you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any recommendations that you would provide?
Consider your motivations next time you feel the need to jump in. It's okay if the behavior looks the same. Just notice why you're doing it. Understand what's going on for you internally before making that decision. Um, and then I also said take a nap.
Yes. Please, please go take a nap. I love that. Any encouragement you'd give this client?
You're working so hard and people are so important to you. You care enough to go through all of this work, and you have a really big heart to do that.
Mm. See, that's so validating. That's so like, even with, like all this critique, there's just like a gentleness of like, I see your intentions. I see your gifts. I see all of these things. Like, those can all stay true, even while I'm challenging you, even while I'm giving you recommendations for ways you could change. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's still
Yeah.
goodness here.
Yeah, and we need community, right? Like we need each other and there are appropriate ways to be there for one another. But when you're talking about the intensity that a tightrope or a mirror ball has, I think that it's time to consider what's really going on.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great insights.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes our episode on Mirrorball. Listeners, we hope you have enjoyed this. As always, we are not therapy, but we hope you've had a good time because we certainly have. And if you have any song requests you would like us to cover or any follow-up questions, leave us a comment, email us at theratepodcast@gmail.com. Check us out at Therate Podcast on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And as always, Jeremy, thank you for being our editor. We sure do appreciate it.